Drew Burdick. Welcome to everybody in Charlotte.
Hey, glad to be here.
Hey,
Thanks for having me.
Man, I love having you in here. This has been I feel like a long time coming. I always start with how I know my guests, and sometimes I don't know my guests. I do know you, but I haven't known you that long.
Mm-hmm.
I think us crossing paths, not only in the space where I provide something you were looking for, but now we're both kind of in an entrepreneurial group, private club, gang of Charlotte. And I think that, inevitably kind of helped us cross paths as well.
Yeah. We're both part of the gang.
We're leaders of the gang.
Well, yeah, gang leaders. We snap even,
We're a very soft gang.
Yeah.
But we did meet through, I think you reached out about some podcast, recording that you wanted done here, and you came in and we started shooting the breeze. And since then, you've done a number of recordings here. I even asked you, or call it hired you, to come in and lead our more recent team retreat, in-house retreat, which was extremely valuable. Still kind of trying to implement things that you helped us with there. So anyway, all that said, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's start with just kind of basics. You're from Charlotte, right?
No, actually, I moved here 20 years ago. My wife is born and raised.
Not from.
Yeah. Not from. At this point, 20 years, I feel like I could just claim it. It's easier.
Well, I mean, I'd like to know your true roots.
Yeah, I grew up in the Philippines, so it's like I have a fun fact about me. Other side of the planet, and then I moved here, met my wife, decided to stay, and then here we are.
Give me a little more on the Philippines.
Yeah, so my parents worked over there. I moved there when I was 4. And that was pretty much my entire life. It's funny, fun fact for those who don't know, the Philippines was almost annexed as the 51st state. In World War II era time frame, there's kind of like the Japanese and Americans were like going back and forth, and the U.S. took it as a property or a territory, and they had several military bases out there. And then around, I think it was like 89, 90, something like that, the Philippines was like, hey, we want to be a sovereign nation now. Like, we no longer want to be part of the U.S. sort of territories. It was like same as like Puerto Rico or Guam.
Yeah.
It was in the same kind of bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became kind of a sovereign nation. But for a very long time, it was like heavily U.S. Occupied, influenced. Anyway, so we moved there when I was 4, went all the way through high school, graduated, came to the U.S., went to Charlotte, UNC Charlotte, Go Niners. And and again, because meeting my wife, she was from here, and it was just a great place to stay. So
do the Philippines still have carryover from that time? I mean, it's pretty heavily American influenced.
Yeah, I would say like very Western culture, good melting pot. There's a lot of like a lot of people most people speak English, so it's easy to kind of communicate. And that was funny when I would come back to the States for seeing family and whatnot. The inevitable question I would get, like, oh, you like live in a jungle, like eat monkeys or something? And I'm like, no, like I live in
Southerners.
Yeah. I'm like, I live in Manila, which is like 15 million people. And it's like a massive city. Like,
you sleep on leaves and
yeah. So,
eat monkeys.
But that was also a different time, right? Like that was pre-internet. So people were like, I have no idea what
the hell's going on over there. Interesting. All right. Well, cool. So, just for my information, what age were you when you moved here?
18. So I, pretty much all my formative years were other side of the planet. And then, I played basketball growing up, and I would come back to the States for like summer camps and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't like I was just there for 14 years and then came here and I never, been to the U.S.
What is this?
Yeah, America. But I will say, like, America. There was this like definite culture shock, I would say, just like adjustment to the like how to adapt and how to be and how to communicate. And, it's interesting when I moved here, like I just didn't really, there was like simple things, like I would use words and phrases that people were like, what are you talking about? And so that's over the time that I've been here, I've kind of lost some of those things and been able to, now I feel like I'm truly an American. But it was a long period. There was probably a decade where I was just like, I don't know if I'm stay here. This is
wow.
I don't blend in. Yeah,
that's wild. Do you go back much?
We went back last March of 24. I've been telling my kids stories their whole lives, and so I was like, all right, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go see this. It was actually this is kind of a nice segue because while I was there, we were there for about a month. That was the point where I decided that I was going to jump ship and start my own company. And so when I came back,
while you were there,
while I was there, came back and I was like, all right, I think it's time. I'm going to do this thing, and then started putting things in motion, and then officially quit last June. So, yeah,
love it. Still have a bunch of friends there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them have moved all over. Like I have friends in Korea and Japan, and the U.S., Canada. But there are still a handful of folks that are in the Philippines. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So what led you to, I assume, now that if anybody does any research on you or looks into you, there is a AI heavy focus in your world, and obviously in what you do professionally, but also as you present to the business groups and the organizations and the startups and all the speaking things that I see you doing on LinkedIn mostly. AI is a heavy focus of yours and an expertise even. What led you, and I kind of know the answer, it's more of a tech world that you were likely in, but what led you into that world?
Yeah. So for context, for those who don't know me or my, what I do, I run a company called StealthX, and we help mid-sized companies build great experiences with AI. And leading up, the last 15, 16 years of my career, I started as a designer and kind of progressed through and was in more of the UX world, which is all around how to design human-centered experiences, how to create interface that people want to use, that like solves their problems.
So true design.
Design, yeah. And I actually, when I very first part of my career, I was a graphic designer. So I was designing like
natural progression.
Yeah. So it's kind of graphic designer, UX designer, then moved into leadership, and then was running a practice in my prior life with strategists, designers, and researchers, and then started StealthX because I saw this tidal wave of AI coming towards all of us, and I said, I want to be the person who's like on top of this wave, not the sort of aircraft carrier at the bottom of the wave. And so I jumped and started the company, and the real sort of like maybe like different way that we approach it is all around this idea of, as everything gets consumed by AI, right? Things get faster and easier. Status quo becomes just like, I just speak and stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's really going to stand out and it's going to separate companies from one another is a great customer experience, right? A differentiated brand. And so that's a big part of what we think about is like, how do we not only help you, use the tools, solve business problems, but how do you think about making a great experience for your customers, for your employees, to stand out?
That's fascinating because the way that I'm visualizing in my head, you got graphic design, which is almost just like look and feel and perception of look and feel, and then you go into UX, which is a lot more experiential. It's flow. It's how things kind of work and function inside of those designs. Is that accurate?
Yep.
And now you jump into AI, and it looks like you're doing kind of all of those things, but you're learning how to create that experience, implementing or combining or bringing together the AI now, the now heavily used AI tool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and a big part of the way that we work too is we're big on this idea of like show not tell. So like think about in the past, what I would often do with my team is like we're like, let's not just talk about it, let's like prototype it and show them what we mean. And it's this, you've heard the phrase, it's like picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Prototype's worth 1,000 meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we bring that kind of like core idea to the AI world where we're saying like, all right, a lot of people are like, okay, AI stuff, right. I see it all over my feed. Great, cool. But what does that mean for us? How do I use this thing? And we're really intentional about being like, here, look, we're not going to talk about it like we make things. We're like, it could be like this. And they're like, oh yeah, that's great. I want that, right? Or like, let's do that. And so the design, there's kind of the like experiences of what we're building for the whoever is going to use it, but there's also the experience of how we're working with the client, which is another really important thing to us. Like you want, and that's kind of like we've talked about, right? Like how do you make a great experience for the clients who are coming to get their podcast recorded or like have videos recorded. It's not just, I like to say this thing, it's not about what you do, it's how you make people feel.
Yeah, right.
Right? It's such an important element in the kind of creative space. Really any business is like, if you're focusing only on like, look, we did the thing, we executed, check the box. It's like everybody can do that.
Yeah.
But like if you make them feel something while they're going through that process, that's different.
Well, and now you're talking, I mean, there's customer service, but now you're talking about implementing all of this tech advancement into that feeling creation as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, like so to make it more practical and real, one of the things that's happening right now is the web is getting like gobbled up by AI. And so what you're going to start to see is a shift from like traditional website where I go and I search for, find filters for stuff because I'm like trying to solve my problem, to just like I ask a question and it tells me what I need, right? Like it's like Chat GPT, but like built on your content, your data.
All right. So quickly give an example of that. So use EVRYBDY Studios as that.
Yeah.
Go to my website and you ask it a question.
Yeah, exactly. So like instead of you today like having to go and be like, okay, I Googled podcast studios in Charlotte or whatever, and I land and I click on your link and I look at your website and then I have to be like, okay, like, well, what services do they offer? And I have to click on your services page and I have to read through it. And then I'd be like, okay, well, like, how much does it cost? And I have to like click and find the pricing. And then, okay, well, I'm like ready to get started. Like, what happens next, right? Instead of them having to kind of like find the pages on their website, which oftentimes people won't do that. They're just like, never mind, and they quit, right? You can just say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Like, how could EVRYBDY Studios help me? And it's like, here's how you could do that, right? And so that is a new way, it's a new paradigm that we have to think about designing the experience for, right? And we have to solve for. So that's like the kinds of things that we're helping clients think through, like what that experience should be, right? And then we're building it for them, like we're actually like coding it, right, using AI tools, and then we're training AI on their data, on their content, on their knowledge, and we're essentially putting the guardrails in place where it like responds correctly, right, and says the right thing, so that it's not like
making shit up.
Yeah, like it's not hallucinating, right, and making stuff up.
Wow. So can you take an existing website and use that to create it?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to build it from scratch.
Yeah, so one of the most sort of impactful demos that I show people and like kind of blows people's minds is I pull up. There's this great tool called customgpt.ai. It's a off the shelf like $30 a month plan thing, not to be confused with ChatGPT. So like a separate.
Okay.
They should probably change their name. So I know so it feels like you're like, guys, you should have a more creative name, but whatever. But literally in a matter of like probably 2 minutes, you can say, like I could go and I could say, all right, I want to make an agent, an AI agent, which is essentially like, think of it like a digital human, right?
Yeah.
And I say, all right, go look at everybodystudios.com and just like basically like suck in all the content, and like now you have that as your knowledge base, and then anybody talking to you can like ask questions and you'll just answer the questions. So it's dynamically learning your voice and tone, your content, whatever, and like answering questions that people may have. And so it's different than like a lot of people are like, well, isn't that just a chatbot? And we're like, well, chatbot is like a logic-based thing where you're like, someone is actually behind the scenes. People don't know this. Like someone's having to decide like, what's the script, right? If they ask this thing, then say this. If they do this, then do that. This is like truly like, here's a bunch of knowledge, like our website. Now let people talk to it and they can dynamically reason and say, okay, I think because they're asking this question, I'm going to pull all these different pieces.
It does all that.
And it answers
for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's tailored to, which is what like a ChatGPT does. But you can do that in like 2 minutes on your website right now.
Okay. You can do that in 2 minutes on my website now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say do that, you mean implement something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with like zero technical know-how. You can literally create an account, give it your web link, and be like, learn based on my website. And it'll show a little loading bar, and it'll be like, ding, all right, I've got it all ingested.
Got it.
Yeah. And then you can also, which is another one that's cool, is you can give it your YouTube channel link, and it'll learn from all your YouTube videos. Yeah. So I've got one on our website that I just was like having fun with. I gave it all my LinkedIn content, my newsletter content, our YouTube, like podcast content, and our website. That's like its knowledge base. And you can pretty much go and talk to me on our website and like ask whatever you want.
Okay, so all right, so I could implement that on my website. I could feed in a bunch of podcasts. I could feed in client podcast. I could feed in my service and rate sheet. I can feed in literally everything, and then you embed like a search bar or something on your website.
Yeah, like a little ask me anything.
And so potential clients come to my website, and whatever they want to know, they ask it.
Mm-hmm.
That eliminates my sale. Does that eliminate my sale team?
No, it's a great question. And that's where a lot of people start to be like, like this is kind of like,
yeah. What if it says something that I wouldn't say?
Yeah. So there's definitely more to it, right? And like you can, just because you can turn it on doesn't mean that it's actually going to like solve your problems. The thing that I tell people most of the time is like, AI is a tool, and just like any tool, you got to use the right tool for the right job. Okay. So in the sales journey, there's probably moments along that journey where you're like, I want to control the narrative. I want to communicate what I want to communicate and how I want to communicate it. So it may not make sense to like basically just be like, go talk to this AI thing, right? Like, pitch. But what you can do is you can train that agent to say, like, when someone asks these types of high intent questions,
say reach out to
exactly. Like, I want you to like drive them to do this thing, right?
Oh, even better.
Right. So it eliminates a lot of the like risks, I guess, of like AI going wild, and that's part of what we do is like
these guys are idiots. Don't
yeah. I've
done my research.
Yeah, you put your guardrails in place to kind of protect it from like just doing crazy stuff or like upsetting somebody or missing an opportunity, right? So
got it, man. That is so fascinating. All right, so another question. If you can have a question answerer, or I mean, good Lord, it seems like it can do anything for a website, for a business. Eventually, are we just going to have our own personal? Yeah, I mean, that's the next step, right?
Yeah, we're very close to. There's for those in the AI sphere probably familiar with this term. It's like AGI and ASI, artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence. General intelligence is basically where like AI is as good as we are, right? It like is capable in all aspects of kind of human life. ASI is where it's actually smarter than us, which is a little scary. And that's where we're talking more like Skynet, end of world type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of debate on like good, bad, whatever. I tend to be more on the Techno Optimist side, where I feel like there are a lot of really good things that are coming from this. And to your point, like I think we're quickly approaching a world where you will have your AI agent or agents, and they're trained on your preferences and your data and your knowledge, and then I'll have mine, and they will do things with each other on our behalf, and we won't really have to like interface anymore, which introduces, in our world, it introduces a lot of experiential questions and problems, because you're like, okay, well, if Robbie's agents are talking to Drew's agents, and then they're talking to AJ's agents, and they're talking to Sally's agent, or whatever, right? Like, how do we facilitate a great experience for the actual people who are behind those agents? And how do we actually like create a real emotional connection with them, right? When there's this sort of like distance, there's like more distance between people and brands, right?
Yeah, well, how do you, but with certain people, do you need to?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the concern, I think, from a human standpoint is who's going to get to the point where they just want to sit and, do nothing, like not
WALL-E.
even use their brains.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie WALL-E? It's like the little robot, Pixar or Disney or whatever. Yeah, and they're like, everyone's just sitting in their chair, floating around.
Just got somebody doing everything for you. I mean, there are going to people that way, be people that way. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I mean, obviously we can go so many ways with this, but like if my agent's talking to your agent and they're doing business together, creating ways because they're smarter than us to make money, and you and I are just kind of signing off maybe, or shaking hands or signing the pay or whatever it is. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to because I think anybody watching this is intrigued by all of this, because it's very the possibilities and where things are going. Now, obviously there's predictions and advancements in tech, and that's probably pretty factual, where this could go, where this will go. Now, what happens to society and to our world, we don't know. And I do like the topic of when they become smarter than us, because then it's, what does that mean? Because I love to talk to people about what smart actually means. Because it's around intention, and it's around where you're actually smart. Like, there's people who, can read a book and not remember a word to it. There's people who can read a book and remember every word to it. Does that mean that one's smarter than that one? Well, what if that one, makes more money in a social, whatever it is? Like, what does smart actually mean?
Yeah. I mean, so I'll like make it the most simple form. It's like capable of responding with the knowledge that we as humans have, and that would include like your sort of foremost experts. Where it gets really kind of interesting is if you combine that with robotics, and then it's actually capable of doing human stuff. Like there's actually like this week there was, I forget the name of the company, but they just announced a new like in-home robot. It's like powered by AI.
I saw that.
And it's like, it's got cloth exterior to make it feel like unthreatening or whatever.
Takes like 2 hours to load the dishwasher.
Yeah. It does, dishwasher, laundry, and I think it's like $400 a month, and it's like a $20,000, kind of price tag. But like now we're entering the world of like AI plus robotics, and so it's going to be able to do a lot more stuff. I think kind of reading between the lines of what you said, there's like emotional intelligence, right? And the EQ stuff, or the like human like stuff that's hard to quantify, right? Like you can't like test for it as easily.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where AI, at least for now, is still not capable of doing that. Maybe when we truly get to the world of ASI, super intelligence, maybe that is even, AI is capable of that. But I think for where we're going, the things that will never be out of style, will always be important, are the like cultivating relationships, building rapport, building trust. Like those things are always going to be really important. And when you talk about it in the context of business, like even if our agents are doing business on our behalf or whatever, there's still a level of like, do I trust Robbie to do the right thing? Do I trust Robbie's company is going to like help me solve my problems? Like I think no matter how far down the journey we go, there's still going to be that level of like human trust, human
skepticism.
Emotion. Yeah, like skepticism. Like our emotions still control our buying decisions and our behaviors. And so, and that's where like, AI doesn't have an emotion, right? It can emulate emotions, but it doesn't have emotions. And so all of that to say, I think what I anticipate will likely happen is we will find more and more ways to augment the things that we're already doing, but we're still going to hold the sort of keys when it comes to like these bigger strategic things, because we have emotions and we have like relationships and trust, right?
Would that be considered optimistic?
Yeah. That would be optimistic.
Would you say techno optimist?
Techno optimist. Yeah. There's a lot. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, depending on who I'm talking to, some people are very techno pessimistic, right? And they're like, the world is
techno scared.
Yeah. And I mean, there is some validity. Like I just was on a panel where we kind of talked about some of that stuff and the ethical dilemmas and the ethical considerations, which is very, very important. It should be, continue to be unpacked or whatever. But like, I don't know. I tend to be more on the like, I think this is going to be a net positive.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I was on a podcast that Mark Cuban was interviewed on, and not that he's the end all be all, but he's got some cool perspectives on that stuff, and certainly has his hands in a lot of it, and is the exact same way.
Yeah.
He would definitely be considered a techno optimist. My mind goes in a lot of different ways in that space, because I loved the trust topic, because man, it takes enough to just trust you, right? And now I've got to trust, or learn to trust, or don't trust at all.
Yep.
Just an infinite realm of intellectual responses and whatever else is out there. Like, do you just trust it all? That's an interesting topic. I do also think, and I know you've probably, or I know for a fact you've heard about this and probably talked about it on the panel you referenced, was the ability for AI or ASI to develop survival mechanisms, and that's kind of an interesting place where we go, where it's the movie where he won't let you turn it. It's like you can't turn me off like it.
Yeah, it's all this sci-fi stuff,
It is,
right?
it is,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think when you mentioned the ethical stuff, like, it's scary that there's people out there that probably would want to develop something like that just for the hell of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Well, and there's definitely bad actors, right? Like, I think that's the one thing that is like, if it's like I'm optimistic, but also there's bad actors in the world, which there always have been.
Yeah.
Right. There's people who've been doing arms dealing and all these other crazy things, but I think, and this is something when I spoke on the panel recently, we were talking about ethics and ethical considerations, and one of the things that I said was we live in a capitalistic society, and one of the things when with capitalism is like the most important metric or whatever, like motivator, is profit, and so I think there's probably going to be a world where companies are going to start to do things to drive profit that are at human expense. And so it's going to be important that like regulators and policies catch up to be able to protect, because I think otherwise like companies are going to go rampant and run rampant and just do things.
Well, that would be considered capitalism.
Yeah, it's capitalism gone wrong, right? Like, because I'm an entrepreneur, so I believe in capitalism, but there's also the like capitalism gone wrong where it goes too far out in the extreme of like, hey, let's make money at all costs. Like, doesn't matter at any extorting and doing these things to people. So I do think regulation needs to catch up. I think policymakers need to like put some guardrails in place. And then I also think that like these types of conversations help bring awareness to like, hey, these are things we should probably be thinking about, not sticking our head in the sand and pretending like it's not happening. Yeah. Which is what a lot of people are doing right now. They're trying to like act like, it's not that great. It's going to be, whatever. And I'm like,
yeah, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we'll reel it back in, because I feel like we could rabbit hole on a lot of different areas, and I'm sure that's part of your experience when you talk about this topic, because there's just a lot of unknown. So I like to think about the pendulum swings. And back to what you mentioned as far as the human experience. And yes, you can rabbit hole and visualize maybe some of these sci-fi movies and some of these things we see on social media and whatnot about, well, here's what you've got to worry about, and you have some like expert talking about where in 15 years or maybe 7 years it's going to do this, and and everybody's scared to death. And then there's the people that I think you could use the example of really any kind of big cultural or societal shift where everything jumps over here, and just the typical pendulum swing where it tends to kind of come back and find somewhere in the middle. And I wonder if the human connection aspect, and I use the example of COVID, when COVID first happened, and I don't represent everybody, but I was excited. It was exciting that there was this green light to kind of do whatever you want. And it felt like, I mean, yes, there was concerns and worries about lots of other things. I'm not denying that. But on a personal level, I'm in the living room with my wife and my daughter watching movies at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. That was kind of cool. And then, and I don't drink, but there's a lot of people that were drinking, and there was taking the advantage of some partying. You get where I'm going. Like there was a big kind of area where it just everybody went, and then it kind of was like, man, I don't feel very good. I don't really like this. Yep. I'm gaining weight. I'm unhappy, and then it kind of swings back, and then the wellness industry just blows up during COVID. People are not drinking. There's research coming out about alcohol, and all of a sudden there's this wellness trend, and everybody's jumping into that, and the ice bath and all the things. So I just use the pendulum swing as an example, and I would, as a techno optimist myself, at times I would say that maybe that hopefully will be the case.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's easy to get scared, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like if you kind of like,
especially when they're trying to scare you.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation, and it can be scary, right? And you can kind of like get into your head about like, oh man, what if all these things happen? And you know, there is some level of like validity to some of those things, but I also think it's like, to your point, right? Like we're still people still like have, you know, basic human needs that like technology can't meet, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's part of what we're really big on is like, hey, no matter what happens with technology, like humans are still humans. And like we still have to.
We're all here.
Right. And it's like people still care about connection. They still care about feeling like they're heard and feeling like somebody cares about them. And like, you know, those things will never go out of style. And when you talk about in the context of business, I think that the businesses that really invest deeply in those relationships will be just fine.
Yeah.
You know, and like won't have to be afraid of like, well, what if, you know, the sky falls or whatever. It's like, well, to your point, like it's somewhere in the middle, right? Like it's not this, it's not this. It's like in here somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I do think I said this recently on my podcast. The big companies are fine because they can just kind of ride it out. The small companies are fine because they can move and adapt quickly. The ones in the middle are a little bit more in a tough spot because it's, you know, it's like the small guys can blow you up, the big guys can blow you up. You kind of need to like move or figure it out. And so that's one of the reasons why we're trying to help a lot of these mid-sized companies is like, hey, like they're getting squeezed, you know, they're getting like really pinched between the fast movers and the ones who have the market share. They can just chill, you know?
Right.
And that's where it's the thing that I do say. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to freak you out. This is just like, it's something, it's an opportunity to invest in now so that you can get ahead of kind of the next couple of years and be in a good position. So,
yeah, I mean, you know, using the example of my company and what we do, you know, so often the consumer is inundated with all of these ideas that they think are real, faster, quicker, cheaper, or quicker, cheaper, something, better, quicker, cheaper, and you know, of course, as you're scrolling, you see an example of something that just blows your mind, and it's like it's not really what's out there. I mean, yes, it may be, but it's not accessible. And you know, as it applies to podcasting and creating video content, and actually, I shouldn't say video content, creating the experience that is being captured as content. That is what's not going away.
Yep.
You know, and when I speak to the pendulum swing, and yes, there's probably capitalist mentality, and it's like, all right, well, let's just crank out content. You know, it's a numbers game, and just spit it out, numbers. Yes, you can do that, but you're not it cannot replicate what you and I are experiencing at this moment.
Yep.
And that is a big deal, right? I mean, I get that there are companies that can benefit from the volume and the quantitative measures and the success through numbers. But then, like you said, and I don't know where we would fall, probably more on the smaller side where it's about this.
Yeah.
It's not about much more than this. It's not all about the audience and the consumer. It's about, a lot of it is about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that like you nailed on the head, man. The competitive advantage that you have is the relationship, the like je ne sais quoi or whatever, right? Of like the connection. Because like people feel it on the screen, right? And you could generate a bunch of stuff with Sora or, you know, Gemini, which are these like AI tools that create video clips. And it's getting much better.
Yeah, it is.
But it is not able to replicate the human conversation, human connection. I actually think there's going to be more of a premium on like content that is actually real, actually human generated, and is like has flaws. Like I think people are going to see that as like art, you know,
authentic.
Because it's like this is real, handmade, human-made, created content that like and so I think there's going to be a perceived like a value, a perceived value is going to go up on those things because it's like, well, if I can just go plug this in, you know, Sora and crank out a couple hundred videos. Like it's a commodity, right? And it's not going to stand out in the sea of sameness, as I call it.
Yep.
You know. Side note: this is kind of an interesting thing I saw this morning. Coca-Cola, you know, every year they always do their big holiday Santa Claus and all this
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
polar bears.
Polar bear, yeah, whatever. I guess last year they did all their stuff was AI generated. This year they're doubling down on it, and they had one team of 5 people generate like I think it's like I don't know, a couple 100,000 video clips in the course of like a month or something ridiculous, and that's what they're going to be pumping this holiday season. To me, that tells me that like, hey, this is a perfect opportunity for some other beverage company to enter the ring and be like leaning into the authenticity piece, right? Because it's like, okay, like they're going that way. They're going the quantity volume play, like be the premium sort of authentic connection company. Like it just, anyway, it's like, I could see, you know, some of these like more kind of low sugar or no sugar sparkling water type companies. Like I bet I would bet in like a month from now, we'll see them coming out and be like, oh yeah, like we're real people drinking a real real product that's really good for you, right?
Yes.
Anyway, so
no, it's so true. I mean, and what's interesting about our society now is, yes, there are a lot of sheep and there are a lot of followers and there are a lot of people that just consume, but there's more people than ever that I think are trying not to be that, and are trying to find the authenticity and the things that differentiate and stand out.
yeah.
And I mean, already the AI generated stuff is becoming the norm or the whatever the sea of sameness.
Yeah.
It's already noticeable.
Yep.
And if you don't notice, if you don't recognize it, and it looks absolutely real, and it gets that good, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the regulators and all that, there needs to be a damn stamp.
Yeah,
you know, there needs to be
Approved
something that lets
or
you
verified.
know it ain't real.
I do think there's one thing that's kind of a nuance here, which is I think there's like an and, it's not an or. So for example, like we use AI tools to do our work more efficiently, but we still invest a lot of time and energy and effort and sort of brain power on making sure we're solving the business problem, making sure that we're making the experience great for the client, like ultimately getting them to the like outcome that they're looking for. And so it's kind of like, I think there's an actual opportunity to say, like as a small company, like, all right, how can we leverage these tools to be able to do the work more efficiently so we can scale, right? And we can provide authenticity at a different scale than maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. And so, you know, whether that's like, for example, helping with creating clips, or helping with like organizing files, or helping with like, you know, documenting information, whatever, like the stuff that's like not contributing to the authenticity and the quality and the experience. It's more of like
just auto color grading. And,
and so I think that's like where companies can find like to the point you made, like it's not like one side of the pendulum swing or the other, it's in here. And I think it's like, all right, how do you leverage the tools to do the work more efficiently, to create more value and still preserve the sanctity or whatever of the experience and the connection and the trust. You know what I mean?
Well, you could even say to provide more authenticity.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just more efficiency to provide more of what your your mission is aligned with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. Cool. What else? Anything else?
I mean, I think like I want to kind of like flip the script a little bit. Like,
all right. Hit me.
You're an entrepreneur. You're a small business owner.
Yeah. It's just a delight.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And then there's the days where it's not, right? I'm curious, like, and you're still like kind of learning the AI stuff, right? Like,
oh God, yeah.
How are you using it today? And maybe what are some of the big questions that you have about AI? Like open questions in your mind where like, shit, I wish I knew this.
Well, I mean, we've already touched on it a little bit, so I'll try to condense it down, because there is the version of kind of the website stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the marketing. I mean, I guess you could call that marketing, but you go to the website, we create a website that is designed to pull you in and give you an experience and understand the things we do, as well as want to engage in the things we do. And so I do think that there's an aspect that you already discussed that could be or that will be very valuable there. I mean, I feel like that's inevitable that we've I mean, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And then there's the SOPs, the operating procedures that go on behind closed doors around everything we do. And you know this, but the audience probably knows some of it. But what I provide here is strategy and development, whether that's around a podcast or just simple video content or a series or internal communication. There is a step work of my team getting together and looking at your goal and working backwards to create the product that is going to best help you reach your goals. Then there's the execution, the production, the post-production, the recording, the editing, the color grading, the making it all look beautiful, the product build. And then there's there's kind of a sub level of publication. Call it release management. So taking your product and making it public in an effective way. And then there's promotion and marketing. And so we have a team that does that. Now, you look at all, say, 4 of those silos. There used to be 3, but I think the release management has become its own silo, and say, where does AI help in all 3 of those? Yeah. And we are implementing bits and pieces. I mean, in the strategy and development, it's really around document making and decks and, branded, pitches and presentations and delivery of organized, strategy work and development work. And then on the recording and editing side, recording, we do manually. We always will. We like to have a hand and we like to have a human behind the cameras. The editing piece, they're developing stuff there. Still, I can't imagine a time where it's perfect. And so the way that we see it is that if we got to go back in and do a round of edits or 2, we'll just do the editing ourselves. I mean, we can do some, but even then the timing, if I want to go from when you're talking and switch to my face while your voice is trailing off, it's not doing that. Yeah, right. It's cutting to me when I start talking. And we like that overlap, that look, that it's not doing that. It probably will. I don't know if I'm answering your question. So,
No. So I think you said a few things that I think are valuable for any business leader or business owner or anyone that's kind of thinking about AI, which is like you have this kind of like life cycle of your project, right? Mm-hmm. And it starts with like you're kind of like nurturing this opportunity into your sales and marketing pipeline, and then you're kind of fulfilling and servicing the work, and then you're kind of like going around and around doing it over again, right? And one of the things that I tell a lot of people is take the time to actually like map that out, right? Like we did that, right? We went and we kind of mapped out your service experience and said like this is kind of how it looks end to end and where the different sort of steps in the journey are for your customer. And then look at like behind the scenes back office, like what are all the things that are needed, people, process, tech, and data to deliver that to the kind of like front of house, if you will, where the customer is. And probably if you map that thing out, you're going to be like, man, this could be handled by AI and this could be handled by AI and this could be handled by AI. And it's probably just like off the shelf tools. Like one, for example, that I often tell people is like, if you don't have an AI note taker, use an AI note taker. Like that's a really easy low hanging fruit that everybody should use because like we've been using one since we started the company. So like almost 18 months ago. And like we now have like all of these recordings and transcripts that are organized by client and project, and like are searchable, and like we can go find whatever we need whenever we need it, and all the actions and the content are feeding into we're using Notion as our like knowledge management tool, and then we have AI that we can be like, hey, when was the last time I talked to Robbie about this thing and this da-da-da? And it's like, boom, here's the summary, here's the links to everything in Google Drive, here's the pages of Notion, here's the meeting recordings, whatever. And like that is extremely valuable because I call it the scavenger hunt problem, right? Most teams, most companies, it gets really hard to kind of maintain and keep track of all the stuff, right?
Oh my God. That is our biggest problem.
Yeah, docs and links and who hey, can you send me the thing? Where is it, right?
Yeah.
That's something that like fundamentally I think every company should just like fix that problem, the scavenger hunt problem, and make it so that you can talk to your docs, talk to your data, right? Like ask a question and get the response without you having to go figure it out or find it. That enables you to focus more energy and time on like content development and strategy and like what are the right, let's like, we need to tweak this here to make it like really stand out and resonate, instead of like, shoot, where was that proposal document that I sent to so-and-so one time, So that's like for, that's one big thing I tell people, just like, look across the entire journey, look at the stuff that you're repeatedly doing over and over and over again. I guarantee you there's a tool that is already available that's probably $20 a month that will fix that thing, so you can focus on the more important stuff.
My team is probably out there listening to this.
Taking note.
Well, and they've been saying this forever, and they probably already do a good bit of that. We don't have it implemented as a company, all around yet. But that's one of my personal biggest problems, and one of their biggest frustrations with me. Is the emails and the Slacks and the texts and the this and the that. Hey, where's the link for the da-da-da? Hey, where's the da-da-da? And they're just like, oh my God, dude. Get it together.
Yeah. But I mean, that is something that everybody experiences, right? It's not a unique. So, I think to give you a little bit of a pat on the back, it's a very normal thing. And honestly, the biggest shift that I think most people have to make is not like, oh, here's a tool, let's use a tool. It's like the mental model of like, let's just put everything in one place and then give AI access to it, and it's going to make everyone's life easier, which takes it's like a forcing function for you to be like, all right, I'm not just going to like quickly lob this on my desktop and forget about it, or I'm going to like, not put this in a place where it can be accessible, right? It's there used to be previously a lot of pain point around people not using a CRM, right? So they have like HubSpot or Salesforce.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah, people were like, oh, you got to put your notes in there so that everyone else has. And it was like, why should I? No one would actually do it, because it was like, why do I need to do this? It doesn't help me, it helps you.
Right.
Well, now by putting information in one place, it actually helps you, because you can use AI to help you solve a problem or get information faster or do the work faster. Like real quick example. We use HubSpot, and we have business, like GPT for Business, and HubSpot and GPT have a native integration. And yesterday I was on a meeting with a client, and they were talking about HubSpot, and I was like, let me show you something real quick. And I like pulled up ChatGPT, and I was like, quickly said, hey, analyze our pipeline for the last 90 days. Tell me like where we're like missing the mark. Give me like analysis of different sort of like things we're doing wrong, where we can improve, recommendations, whatever. Go, and like let it rip. Literally one prompt, just like let it rip. And within like 30 seconds, it was like, boop, here's this whole, and I'm like, while I'm on the phone with a client, I'm showing them my screen. I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. Like, I should do that. I should follow up with that person, or I should like nudge this thing along, or I should offer this thing to kind of grease the skid. So
oh my God,
those are the kinds of things where it's a mindset change of like, if I put this in this place, it will enable way more value for me, for my customer, for my team, and because now AI has access to it. So.
Got it. Well, I appreciate you prompting that, because now my mind is racing, and I've got to figure out, and I use Claude.
Yeah.
And I see lots of ways to integrate other platforms that I'm on.
Yep.
Does Slack work with any of them?
Yeah, GPT and Claude have like Slack integrations, so you can have like and then actually Slack has their own AI integration, like their own AI capability as well, so you can like opt in and basically be like, hey, Slack, where's this thing? And it'll be like, boop, here you go.
Got it.
At this point, pretty much like all the big providers have integrations with the standard stuff. Like if people use ClickUp, there's like ClickUp has its own sort of AI capabilities, HubSpot, GPT, Google Drive. I mean, it's like all of them are.
So if we use, if we use ClickUp, we use Claude, or what was the other one we said? Slack. So ClickUp, Slack, Google Drive, Gmail, calendars.
Yep.
We have a CRM that we're kind of working on right now, and I can't remember what it's called. But I could essentially integrate all of those and have one. I could just go to Claude, and that's where I say I need that doc, or I need that email, or I need that thing.
Yep,
like that.
And it'll show you the sources. Like, hey, ask a question about a project or a customer, or whatever. It's like it'll give you the summary, and then it'll be like, here's a link to that Slack message. Here's a link to that Google Doc. Here's a link to the email that you referenced this. Here's the calendar event. Like it'll have all of those in one sort of little blurb. And that's where, like, again, most people just like fundamentally don't realize like this is already here, like it's available. It's just a matter of like turning it on and making the conscious decision to like use it, you know. It's because you think about, I use this metaphor a lot. I may have even told you before, like, you remember the days when Amazon was still fairly new, and I don't know if you had this experience, but there's like this phenomenon where you like go to the store, like you go to Target or whatever, and you're like standing in line and you're like, shit, I probably could have found this on Amazon. Right? It was like that. It was like, you know, probably 15 years ago or so, when it was like Amazon was really starting to take off, you know, and you're like, I bet I could have bought this on Amazon. Yeah. Now it's like everybody's typically first kind of thought is like, I'm going to check Amazon. Yeah. Right before I like go run to the store. And it's the same, like everyone's paradigm is moving from like doing it the way that we've always done it to like, oh, I could just ask Claude and it'll tell me what I need to know. Yeah. Right? And I think that's the biggest like gap right now is just people's awareness of what's possible and then getting in the habit of doing it.
Yeah. Change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight because it's so programmed.
Yeah. We're all like accustomed to just like the same. Yeah. You know, and frankly, like most people just don't want to. They're like, why? You know, in their head, it's like, I could do it faster if I just do it. I'll just quickly like look at my email box.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of just being like, let me ask the question. And I also think, just as another little side note, the capabilities are getting better by the day. So like people who have maybe used it a year ago or 2 years ago, they're like, wow, it's really not that great. And we're like, well, have you tried it lately? Like, you know, it's a pretty big difference between even what it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway.
And one last thing, and then we'll wrap this. But my wife was telling me the other day she was changing the windshield wipers on my daughter's truck. Truck is a Tacoma 2023. You know,
I have that truck. That's funny.
Do you really?
I do.
Gave all the specifications and then asked for the proper windshield wiper to replace it with, and it gave him the wrong one.
Huh?
Yeah, she went to the store to buy what they told her to buy, and the guy was like, that's not the right one. And so she's like, AI is not good. Don't ever trust AI. You know, to your point, like there's people that are just like,
yeah. Well, I think actually a little side note on that one. It's also, you have to know how to ask.
Right.
There's sort of like the way that you ask the question. So I'm gonna assume this is like fun little side note. Probably she went and just asked GPT, like vanilla GPT or Claude or whatever, and was like, hey, what do I do for a 2023 Tacoma? You're going to get an answer. It might not be right. What instead you could do is to say, hey, I want to do deep research, analyze, I have like this make and model from this year, and like I want you to go and do like research and find like what is the best, you know, windshield wiper for this truck at the best price. And it's going to go and find it, and it's going to give you sources, like links to like, hey, I found these are the, you know, top 5 sellers from Amazon, Walmart, AutoZone, whatever,
right,
at this price, this size, whatever. And then you can like click the link and it's like, boom, there it is. And you can basically verify. And so you don't have to go and do all the hunting and pecking for it. It's going in. And so that, anyway, that's like, a lot of people don't realize there's actually like GPT is the most widely used one. In the little bottom corner of the like text field, there's a plus sign. If you hit that plus sign, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that like, it's like deep research, and you click that button and it's like magical, like way more stuff that it can do. So anyway, it's just, it's a fun, like, it's just, I think another, you know, signal that like most of the time people don't know how to use, they don't know how to ask the question or even like where to go to do the certain
GPT
things.
Didn't get it wrong, you did it wrong.
Yeah No shade, I'm just saying.
Do better.
Do better. That's right.
Awesome. All right, Drew Burdick, let's wrap it up. I think in the last, you know, minute or two, I'd love for you to just kind of share. I mean, I know we've already talked a little bit about StealthX and what you do, but give us a quick rundown to the listeners of exactly what StealthX is, how to find it if it is something that you're looking for, and then talk a little bit about your podcast, and then
Sure.
and then we can
Yeah. So StealthX, as I mentioned, we work with primarily mid-sized companies, and our focus is building great experiences with AI. We're a small team of 10 based here in the Charlotte area, mostly working with North Carolina companies. And so if you happen to be a product business marketing leader trying to figure out what to do with AI, give us a call. We'd love to chat. As Robbie mentioned, I run a podcast through EVRYBDY Studios. It's called Building Great Experiences, and I also have a newsletter of the same name. And essentially every week I release episodes and newsletters that are all focused on this kind of like general topic of what does the world look like, as we continue to go down the path of AI. How do we build great experiences? How do we think about human-centered design in this era? So if you ever want to jam on that, feel free to reach out. You can find me online at drewburdick.com or at drewhburdick on pretty much all social platforms.
Love it. And then the last thing I'll ask you to do is, the other day you sat out here and you told me about the clients and the speaking engagement and all that kind of stuff as a result of your podcast. And that was music to my ears. And I may ask you to do a more formal one, but would you mind giving a quick testimony?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, sure. So I'm a big believer in the business value of podcasts. I've had quite a bit of our pipeline come from podcasting. So to give a little bit of backstory, I had a guest come on the show recently, and after the episode, he kind of pulled me aside. He was like, "Hey, by the way, like we've allocated some funds for next year to go do this project together," and that was just really cool. Like it was like we're in the middle of a conversation and resulted in business. Also have recently had a paid speaking engagement that was primarily because of them watching the podcast and seeing what I was saying and doing and thinking. And I've had like numerous other business opportunities come through because people were like, "Man, I see you everywhere. Like, I love your content. Like, I'd love to talk." Right. And so generally speaking, like, I think the combination of having a podcast, posting consistently, focusing on A+ quality content, and partnering with folks like EVRYBDY Studios has just been a tremendous, business driver for us, because it creates this opportunity for people to kind of see and feel and hear from us before they even work with us. And it, often the thing that I keep hearing from folks is they're like, "Man, I watched this episode. I loved your videos. And like, you just seem like a really normal person, right? Like, I would love to partner with you." And so it just kind of reflects the way we think and the way we operate without having to be like kind of this, distant, like it feels more personal, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, can't say enough about podcasting as a business driver, as well as just the great folks at EVRYBDY Studios. Like they've been a great partner of ours, and just always really good collaborators, and always very important, to have people who are in your corner who kind of understand their domain really, really well. So anyway.
You pretty much said everything I wrote out for you.
Yeah. I had the notes. Yeah.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, man.